From Alumni Hall at Pelham Memorial High School, this is the Pelican Brief with Jordan Salama.
Thank you. Welcome to the Pelican Brief, everybody. I'm Jordan Salama, and this is our Season 2 finale episode, everybody. We are in Alumni Hall with this awesome crowd. Give it up for the crowd. Yes. Thank you all so much for being here. This is so exciting. We have such a fun show for you today, guys. You all know and love this PMHS teacher. He is so funny. Guys, Mr. Beck is going to be on the show a bit later. Plus, and this is great, they're great musicians. We have music from the Brief Band, everybody. This is the band of Chris Russo, TJ Hurd, John Lewis, and Audun, Jawanda. They're great. They're going to be playing a classic song for us. And finally, as you all know, this is my last episode of the Pelican Brief. Yeah, but not to worry, guys. The show's going to continue next year. So this is great. And we're going to reveal the next host today on the Pelican Brief. Guys, it's a great show. But first, with me now is the superintendent of the Pelham Union Free School District. Everybody, please give a huge round of applause for Dr. Peter Giarrizzo, everybody. How are you? Dr. Giarrizzo, we are so happy that you're able to join us on such a special day.
Is this water, I have to ask you quickly, is this water from...
Yes, don't worry. It's from a bottle. We have a water advisory today in Pelham, but yeah, this is such a special day. Thank you so much for being here. We're all looking forward to the summer. It's such a special time of year, but we're also looking forward to next year. I want to get a sense of what you're excited about for next year in the high school.
There's a million things. There's a million things I'm excited about for next year. So last year, we actually spent really the better part of the year building our plan for the next 5 years, right? And this year was the first year that we put those into place. And what I've been calling this year is the work has been largely foundational, building the bricks for what will come for the next 4 years. So next year, some very, very cool things happening at the high school. We've got 5 new electives coming in STEAM. For familiar with what STEAM means, science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. So we have a computer programming course coming into the high school. We have a robotics course coming into the high school. We have a course in architectural design, a course in science of coaching, and there's a 5th one that I can't, it'll come to me in a minute. But 5 new courses. We also have Mandarin coming into the high school next year, which is super cool. We just hired a teacher a couple of weeks ago from China. Who's coming?
To teach Mandarin.
Yeah, very, very cool. So we're going to offer that in grade 6, grade 7, and one course at the high school next year, an introduction to Mandarin course. Next year, we're starting the International Baccalaureate program at the middle school, and we'll start planning for that at the high school. We have maker spaces that we're planning to build in the high school next year. So lots of really, really cool things happening for us.
That is great. That's a lot of stuff. And I know that you've always focused on those pillars of education. And one of them has been 21st century learning, which is the technology aspect. And when you came in as superintendent, I know that you really tried to incorporate technology. Why do you think that's so important for students?
You know, I would say, and you will all probably agree with me, you learn differently than the way I learned, right? And trust me when I tell you, your kids will learn differently than the way you learn, right? So rather than try to fight with kids about getting the devices out of their hands, that's the way kids learn today. So what we decided to do was, let's figure out a way to get these tools, devices in kids' hands and using them for good instead of evil, right? So, you know, when you think about when I was in high school, we wrote notes and we flipped notes back and forth to each other. You guys don't have to do anything. There's no getting in trouble. You go under your desk and you send a text message and off it goes. We want you using those devices towards part of the lesson, not things that are taking you off task. So part of the really exciting work that we've done is we've moved from that bring your own device policy, which was anybody can bring their own computer, their own device, do what you want, log into the internet and go. And we've moved from that to a Chromebook, the Chromebook initiative, which is a one-to-one initiative. Now, I know that seniors and juniors have been fairly and vocally not happy with me about that. Right. But you had to take one for the team, guys, right? So we started this in grades 8 and 9. And next year we'll have one-to-one Chromebooks in grades 8, 9, 10, and 11. And the reason why we decided to go with one-to-one is because we felt that laptops essentially were were pens and pencils in 2015. We think it's important that all kids have them. We also didn't want to give another way for kids to sort themselves. So if everybody has the same device, access to the same technology, you can get in through our network. Everybody's got access to world-class technology.
Right, so it's so important to give all the students an equal opportunity to,
Absolutely.
to utilize the resources of the district. And as superintendent, you've also had a great presence on Twitter.
I love Twitter.
I mean, everybody does. Well, you know, it's a funny story. When we started Twitter for the Pelican Brief, we tried to have a little competition in the TV studio to get more followers than the superintendent. Follow us on Twitter, everybody, @BriefsOn. But it didn't.
How'd you do with that?
It didn't exactly work out.
Because you don't close school.
No, we don't. We don't.
You don't close school.
But we're gonna get. Yeah. We just tweet out about our shows, but we have 20-something followers, so not nearly as close to you. But that's okay. We have mugs, guys.
I don't have a mug.
You are right. See, so
Do I get to keep this mug or no? No, probably not.
I'm not going to give you a definite. We'll talk later about that. All right, let's switch gears a little bit because on today's episode, we wanted to get a sense of the superintendent, not only as a leader, but as a person. So we wanted to ask you the most important question of them all, and that is why bow ties? Why not just regular ties or switch them up? Why
before people knew who I was here, right? So they would call me the guy with the bow tie, right? So we knew it wasn't Mr. Scott, right?
Well, Mr. Scott, yeah.
Right, Mr. Scott's pretty much the only guy who wears them around here. I don't know. I just I started wearing them about, I would say, 4 or 5 years ago. I remember the first time I wore one, I was really self-conscious about it, and they just have become, part of who I am. I have like 1 million of them. I have them for all, I have this really weird superstition. So when I'm interviewing for a job or going usually when I'm interviewing for a job, I buy a new tie for every interview that I go on. And
you said you were going to buy a tie for the Pelican?
I said I was going to buy a tie, but here's what happened. And in fairness to all, I did not buy a tie for this one, right? And the reason for that is Friday I got caught up in being lazy. It's true. Carting my kids around, going back and forth to Home Depot 16 times. Saturday I had an event with my nephew's first communion. Sunday I got back to being lazy again. And then I had this, and then Monday was more lazy.
Yeah. That's fine. We're so happy to have you here. It doesn't matter if you have a new bow tie and an old bow tie. Everything.
So I tried to find one that, these are geckos today.
Oh, wow.
Right? So
very nice.
I haven't worn this one a lot, so I figured I would try to pull it out.
Do you impart this fashion sense onto your kids?
Onto my kids?
Yes.
I try.
How do they do with that?
They don't wear bow ties often, right?
All right, so we get the picture. But you do have 2 children, and they go to the Pelham schools?
They do. One is at the middle school, and one is at Sinai.
So what is that like, as you're the superintendent of the Pelham schools, to have kids that go to the same school district that you run?
I would say it's probably different for them, right? So they have 2 very, very different personalities. And I would say that I have, one of my sons has this very, very outgoing personality and loves it. He's also a little bit younger. So he still thinks I'm cool, and, when I show up at a school, he still gets very excited about it. He thinks I'm a little bit of a rock star, right?
You are a rock star.
Well, it depends on who you ask, right? My older son is a little bit shy, a little bit more shy. He's becoming a teenager, so he kind of wants to be left alone. So I try to give them the space that they need to be, who they are. I think it's tricky for their teachers, right? So, and I always, I want them to have a very normal experience here. So, they go and they're responsible for the things that they do, and they're expected to do well. And when they don't do well, there are consequences for them, not doing well. But I think it's a tricky dynamic. I'm glad that we live here. I love living here. I think it's a great place to raise a family, and I think my kids really benefit from the really good schools that we have, right? So when we moved here, I could have moved essentially anywhere. And I knew for sure that if my kids came to Pelham, they would get a really top-notch education, regardless of who I was. So that's why we live here, and that's why. So I would say if you ask them, it'd probably be a little bit mixed on the day, but I think they like having me around, and I get to see them much more that I'm here.
But do they involve themselves in the Pelham experience? Like, do you bring them to PMHS sporting events and things like that?
Yep. So they're involved in they get involved in everything. So we go to hockey. My younger son is a hockey player, so that is a long season. All right. So we do that. We do that all year with him, and then my older son is involved. He's a rower. So he does some of that as well. So they're involved in everything. I try to bring them to events when it's appropriate. Sometimes they're a little late. Sometimes, frankly, sometimes they don't want to go.
May I suggest?
Yeah.
I know an event that is never late, always in the afternoon, beautiful sunny day. Pelham Tennis is something that it's a team that needs support. So if you ever want to come to a match, we'd be glad to have you.
You know what? Here's the thing. If I have the schedule, I go to the games, right? So when I have it on my desk and I look, because I'm here all the time, right? So I'll look at look at the schedule, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'll say, what's happening today, and I'll go. If I don't have the schedule, it just escapes me. So if somebody gets me the tennis schedule, no, I'll be there.
I won't be here next year, but anybody who's on the tennis team, just listen up, right? Dr. Giarrizzo wants to come to a game. So we don't win. But it's still really, it's a great experience.
Do you play singles or doubles?
I play doubles with my brother, who's actually helping out in the back with the cue cards right now. Okay. So, again, we enjoy playing together. That's what's important, not exactly the record, but yeah. What's your favorite Pelham sport to watch, though, in all honesty?
I like them all the same.
All right, that's a great answer. What a diplomatic answer. All right, my next question is about snow days, which I know everybody is so excited about. Do your kids ever ask you for a snow day? And you're just like, okay, and just cancel school?
Every time, and no.
So is that a reason why school might not be canceled? If your kids just say, like, hey, can I have a snow day? You're like, well, now I can't do it.
It's funny. My middle schooler gets all his friends be like, what's happening? You tell your dad to cancel school. And he's like, just got to leave me alone, My au pair gets hammered, right, at drop-off, right? So the au pairs are really funny, though. A lot of the au pairs ask, and sometimes the moms will ask what I'm going to do with the snow. And it just is...
It's up to the weather.
And the truth of the matter is, I never know, right? So we're usually one of the last places to close, because I really, really sweat these decisions. I've gotten much better at dealing with all the pressure around it, right? So the first snow day I called was last December, right? And it was a bust, if you remember it.
I think I do, yeah.
It was.
I remember that.
It was a total bust,
That's
right?
Okay.
Well,
it makes people happy. Think of it that way.
It made students happy,
right?
I was standing in my den, and I have this den that has all these windows around it in the back, and it was like 7:30 in the morning, and it still hadn't started snowing. And the forecasts were like Armageddon. There were 30, thank goodness there were like 30 some odd districts that were closed that day. And I remember looking at my son Matthew, and I said, Matthew, buddy, it's got to start snowing soon, right? And he was like, no, not really.
Well, how do you decide? Do you watch, what news channel do you watch? I should probably write this down. Do you look out the window? Like, how do you go about making a decision?
So there are a bunch of websites that I start to look at,
Guys,
right?
take out a pen and a clipboard.
Right. So Wonderground is a really good website that I check out a lot. It's pretty accurate. Weather.com is, I look at that. So I basically have all these links open on my computer, and I just start looking at the patterns of the weather. And then, believe it or not, I get up at about 3:30 in the morning to start the process, right? So I just start, looking at all the reports. The first like real weather reports start around 4 o'clock in the morning on TV. And then we have conference calls with superintendents. There's actually a conference call with about, I think it's almost 20 of us that get on the phone, and it's, we just talk about where we're going to go and what the people are going to do and how it's going to shake out. And a lot of times it has to do with making sure I can get the buildings prepared, right? So can I get six facilities shoveled in time for opening? We don't have buses necessarily to deal with. Can I get staff in? That becomes a really important puzzle. I mean, it's great to have 3,000 kids here. If I can't get teachers here, then that's no good either. So it's a fairly complicated process. I sweat it like crazy. Invariably, I get about a dozen people who are mad at me every single time.
Either way it goes.
Either way it goes. And I just have to, so the way I have reconciled that, Jordan, is I just sort of feel like I make the best decision that I can with the information that I have in that moment, and then I just got to go with it.
And it always works out somehow. Right?
So usually it works out.
How do you close a school district? Is there do you make a call? Is there a big red button? Or?
We have, what has happened this year actually? Talk about Twitter followers. My Twitter following went like bananas before every snowstorm, right? And then there were students who would start doing like these poetry slams with me, right? It's
Can
true.
you explain that a little bit more?
Right, so I would get like in my Twitter, someone would tweet me, like something about please close school, or it would be like to a rhyme, right? And then I would I'm like a very competitive person just by nature. So then I would feel like, well, if they're gonna send me a poem, then I'm gonna send you a poem right back. So then I start tweeting back these crazy poems. They're all on my Twitter feed, you can find them. And they're pretty funny. But it's like, this is like, I need to be doing this when,
When you're trying to cancel school.
Well, forget about that when I'm like trying to watch Homeland,
That's true, yeah. You also do the snow day challenges on Twitter.
I do the snow day challenges too.
Can you explain what that is and how you
Sure,
got involved in it?
so I'll answer you the first question, how do you close school?
Right,
So
right.
first we get off the phone with everybody, and then the first place I put it up is on Twitter in the morning because it's just fast and easy for me to get it out. And then we pop it up on our website, and then I do the e-blast, and then I do the phone blast.
Okay.
And then
It happens.
and then it happens,
School closes.
right? So then I'm either, if it's a delayed opening, right? So then of course the phones start in my house. My cell phone's ringing, everybody's cell phone's ringing, the house phone's ringing because school is closed, and it's like everybody's awake then, and then I would like to go back to sleep, and the whole house is awake.
Yeah, and then you have the snow day challenge.
So then I have the snow day challenge. So I don't know how or where I came up with this idea, but I thought that it would be kind of cool, right, to have an activity for kids to just create cool things, right? So it started out very, very simple, I forget what the first challenge actually was, right? But now they've gotten a little bit more sophisticated over time. Now the great thing is kids are doing amazing things with these things. I mean, there was anybody Audun Avenue built like a house, right?
Yeah, that was in the Pelham Weekly, actually.
It was the coolest thing ever. They tweeted, I was like, holy cow, you guys have it going on. And so they send me these Lego structures that are really cool, and I think to myself, you know what? If you're going to spend your day either in front of a computer or playing Minecraft all day, why not put your brain to work and
Get outside.
and build something, or build something in your house, or do whatever. So it's been pretty neat. The tricky part is I've given myself one more thing to do in the morning, because I do come up with those things on the fly.
You don't have a master list in your office? Next snow day, this is...
I really don't.
No?
No, I really don't.
Well, let's get away from snow days and talk about the summer, which is coming up. Okay. Do you have any plans? Are you excited? What's your work schedule like during the summer?
I work all summer long.
You do? Okay.
Right? So I have some vacation time that I get that I take over. I can take pretty much whenever, but it's hard to take during the year. I'll take that over. I'll probably take a couple of weeks over the summer. I love the beach more than any place else on the planet, and so I just I'm looking forward to that. Just like to go get a good book and.
It's going to be great.
So
I hope you have a
catch
great
that.
summer. I hope
Thank you
everybody
very
else
much.
has a great summer too. Let's give a huge round of applause, everybody. The doctor here. This is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. Stick around, everybody, because a bit later in the show we're going to have a musical guest, and Mr. Beck is coming up next on the Pelican. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Good luck.
Welcome back to the Pelican Brief, everybody. Guys, my next guest is possibly the funniest teacher in the school. He's great. Please welcome Mr. Beck. It's so great to have you back, Mr. Beck. Last time you were on the show, you talked about the forensic speech championships. I understand you're going to the national championships this year. You went to one. Talk about that, please.
Sure. Interestingly, quickly, I was on this last time,
Yeah.
and then I told you my neighbors were quite thrilled.
Oh, yeah.
The old lady across the hall that makes me banana bread all the time was like, "You're on TV!" I was like, "Okay, I'm scared." But yeah, I'm quite the celebrity now of my co-op building, so yes.
They should have come. They should have been in the studio audience.
Today, they could have
Yeah,
brought
right.
them. But yes, we just came back from the Grand National Tournament, which was held in Fort Lauderdale over Memorial Day weekend. And there were 3,800 students around the country there. And senior Ellie Livingston was first place in oral interpretation from
Wow.
New York. And she went there and battled it out. And New York as a whole took second place once
Very
again.
nice.
To Kansas City, Missouri was the number one. So they added up like by your region. But second place was very good, so we were very happy. Yes.
Okay, good job. I understand there is a crazy story of how Ellie qualified.
Yes, there is. There's two different qualifying tournaments. We actually that one was hosted at Stuyvesant High School, which I am also the president of the New York City League, so
Nice.
I got to host that. Yes, it's quite an honor. So Ellie was first there coming out of our district. The other one is the Tournament of Champions, and that's hosted here at Pelham Middle School every year. We've been hosting it for about 8 years. And it's a challenge because from our district for that is a little different. The district goes from Staten Island all the way north to Albany. And there's only one slot. You have to be first place to qualify for this Tournament of Champions. In the past, we had qualified Omar Gouda, who is kind of a speech legend here. Mm-hmm. And last year, Ellie and Sarah Kenny had qualified in duo. So this year, she went in humorous interp. And I thought she had a pretty good shot, and she was second by 1 point. So I was like, all right, you're a senior.
It's good. Second's great.
Second's great. So I charged my cell phone, next to my bed, and all of a sudden, about 2.5 weeks ago, I get this like zzz, zzz, and I'm like, oh, it's my mother. And I pick it up, and it's like, alternate status has been achieved. Immediately call the NFL office. And I'm like, the National Football League? What? So what happened was the student from Iona Prep who did win could not go to the tournament, and you're allowed to step up second to becomes first. So Ellie has now stepped up and will be going to the Tournament of Champions the week of June 12th through the 19th in Dallas.
Oh, wow.
That's
What a
gonna be
vacation
chilly.
destination.
Yeah. So
That's great. No, and that's a crazy story, too.
yeah, so Ellie is going as the humorous interpretation champion from New York. So we're looking forward to see what happens there.
Good job, Ellie. Good luck to her. And forensic speech is just one of a number of projects that you work on. One of the new ones that you've been working on this year was the lip dub.
Yes.
It was a big event in the school. Can you explain, maybe some people don't know, what a lip dub is and then how we pulled it off here at
Sure.
PMHS?
Mrs. Clark had asked me to think about directing this lip dub for the Many Faces of Pelham celebration coming up on June 8th. And I said, sure, and we kind of looked at what a lip dub is. At first, of course, and I'm like, what is a lip dub? Then I found out it's when you lip sync a song, usually either one song or a bunch of songs, and you have a student lip syncing, and then behind that person, as they're lip syncing, you show the activities of the various things going on in the school. It could be activities, teams, whatever it is. So those who know me from Sock and Buskin and Pelham Middle School Drama, I like to rehearse many, many, many times. So this, Mr. Ravita really was my expert on this, and he said, it's got to be one take. And I'm like, what about the rehearsal? He's like, no, we can't rehearse. It's got to be one take. And I'm like, okay, that'll be fine. So we kind of went around and talked about the songs that we thought would be good, and I went to my AP class and said, okay, seniors, these are the songs. And they were like, these songs are terrible. I was like, okay, okay, what would you suggest? So then we kind of went back and forth, picked the songs, got some suggestions from the teachers and different coaches as to who could be our various lip dub, put it together with Mr. Ravita's guidance, taking us through the school, and did it in one take without rehearsal.
See, that's awesome.
And it came out pretty good, I have to say. It really did.
Very good. Now, I have to ask, when you were doing the lip dub, what was the one thing, or I'm sure many things, in your head, the worst thing that you could have thought would happen during the lip dub?
Well, the person is going backwards, that's lip dubbing, like, so they're working backwards, and I kept, like, I'm holding the music, and Mr. Ravita is holding the camera, and I'm like, someone's going to fall, and I am going to laugh. And that was, and I was going through my head, because that was the one thing. And also just like the falling thing could then be like compounded by then Mr. Ravita and I falling as well, and just ruining the song, kind of going in an endless loop. So that was my fear, but everyone was terrific. The student body really, the energy and enthusiasm in the hallways were just unbelievable. And I think you'll see when we unveil the video at the Many Faces of Pelham on June 8th, you could see how I think it really is a great slice of life of what PMHS really is about.
Would you do something like this again?
Never. I'd have to talk to my therapist first. No, I think I would. I think it's something, because at the end of it, it was great. One of the freshmen that I knew came up to me and said, well, for next year, and I was like, oh, I guess we're doing this next year. So I think that's good. I think the kids are really enthusiastic about it, so maybe we'll do it again, sure.
That's great. And another one of your big things, obviously, is Sock and Buskin. You guys had a huge success with Gypsy this year, and we were talking to Dr. Giarrizzo about the snow days.
Yes, well, Gypsy was affected by the snow days because we had a while there without any snow, and then opening night, there was a snowstorm predicted. And I have never been more impressed with the operation of Dr. Giarrizzo's snow tactics. He's like, he invited me down to his office, and he's like, hold on a second, and the desk like turned upside down, and it was like, and all these things, and he's like, got barometers, and wondered this and that, and I was like, and he predicted exactly when the snow would start, when it would stop, and could they clear the high school driveways and everything for the play, and he was to the 10-minute mark, absolutely perfect, and the show went on, and it was a success.
And it was
so
great.
I was very impressed.
Good job, Dr. Giarrizzo. And the show was a huge success. You were actually nominated for some accolades.
Yes, we actually, we got word that our Mama Rose, Sarah Liddy, has been nominated for the Best Actress in the Gershwin Award. The Gershwin Award is, again, the 5 boroughs as well as Long Island and Westchester. They send judges to watch, and then they select people to be nominated. Then those meet at a theater, and they're going this Saturday, actually. And there's a panel of judges from various casting agencies as well as NYU and PACE's program, and they actually audition them and then have them do a dance and a song, and then they are able to do a snippet from what they did to get there. So she'll be doing a number from Gypsy. So our fingers are crossed. Last year, Sarah did win as a sophomore, was the youngest winner, and then went to the Minskoff Theater for the Nederlander Awards. So we'll see what happens this year as a junior.
Did she win what happened with the other awards?
She did. She won the New York region. She represented, but at the end it was another girl that won who was excellent. But Sarah was still the youngest competitor there. So our hopes are high because she did a fantastic job in the role of Mama Rose and Gypsy.
You guys, everybody always does a fantastic job in those productions. It's great. I want to know what brings you back to what you love about high school theater, why you come back every year to direct.
I think it's it's very funny. It's educational theater is a very different animal than professional theater. You want to be able to give skills and be able to start with a script. And when Mr. Schleifer and Miss Abeshaus and I look over the summer as to what we might be thinking of doing for a piece, we want to be able to talk back to the script, because from that script, if it's a good show, whether it's a musical or non-musical, it really talks about how a student can make choices. And those choices sometimes, just like we do in our writing as an English teacher, has to be justified in the text that the author has given us. So it's a very exciting process to watch. As director, I kind of know what I want, but I never want to tell an actor. And then the experience of watching the person experience it and discover for themselves is a remarkable journey. And sometimes the journey takes a different turn, and it's not the way I had seen it, and it's actually better or different. And that's kind of the exciting part for me. And that's why I think I love the direction of the musicals and the non-musicals.
Do you have a past in professional theater as well?
I did. As a young child, I starred in many children chorus productions at the Westbury Music Fair on Long Island. And I did until, I was, my mother was a casting agent for television. For Young and Rubicam, which is an advertising agency. So I did a lot of like commercials and things when I was little, and then I got braces and no one wanted me. So yeah, but I definitely did things when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. So what made you want to switch over to teaching English? Or?
I always liked teaching. I always remember, I'm the oldest, and I used to force my brother and sister to play school downstairs. And I always liked teaching. And I kind of was excited when I went to Fordham because there was a program there that I was in that talked about theater as, from the educational point of view, like teaching it as a genre of literature as well as a performance aspect. And once I kind of found that was because I was able to do a double major between the Lincoln Center campus and the Rose Hill campus. It was like a perfect match for me. And I knew it was something I always wanted to do, I wouldn't mind if Cameron McIntosh offered me a musical, me and Les Mis would have been great. But I never felt that I kind of gave something up. I think it's an ongoing process because I think you're even on stage when I'm being directed in something, whether it's community theater or whatever I might do on the side, you are that student again discovering that journey, and I think it's a very powerful one.
Mm-hmm. And you teach the theater arts class here at Pelham Memorial. What do you do in that class?
That is I love that class. I look forward to it. When I first inherited from Mr. Orphis, it was first period, and I'd be like, "Hiya, kids," and they're like, "All right, shh." Switch to decaf, and I was like, "Okay." But then the schedule kind of changed, and now it's the end of the day, which is great. And I love it because I've had students who are in sock and buskin with me, and I have students who have never been to a Broadway show or an off-Broadway show or looked at a script. So it's kind of, the very basics of theater, like introduction of what theater is. And then we do a lot of improv games, talking about character, and then we actually have them bring in some of their favorite scenes or their favorite kind of actors or movies that we kind of analyze that. And a lot of it is participation in class, and it depends on the group. I've had some groups that are like gung-ho for improv, and I've had others like, no, we don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay. So we kind of gauge it as the group that you have.
Have you ever had kids who have never, like you said, never been to a Broadway musical, then go on to act in maybe the high school plays here?
Yes, always with seniors. Mr. Orphis always told me that when he was leaving. He said, sometimes seniors will come around and say, in the 4 years I always wanted to do this. And that's true. We've had the biggest example I thought was when we did Fiddler on the Roof. We needed to have male dancers to be the Russian kind of soldiers. And I had one student in my theater arts class, and I had 3 in my AP class that I thought could work, and they were athletes by trade. But I said, once I explained what the part was, and they said, well, let me come to rehearsal and see what it's about. And then they loved it, they did a great job, and at the end of the experience, they said, why didn't I do this since freshman year? Like, I really regret it. So sometimes people have to listen to their inner self. If they think they want to do it, take the leap and see what happens.
Always. And maybe these kids went on to do this in college, and then they got to have a more fulfilling college experience.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
What was the craziest experience? You've been here how many years at Pelham?
This is my 14th, I think, year at Pelham. I started when I was 10. Just like Doogie Howser. Yes.
What was the craziest experience you've ever had, maybe in theater or in class at Pelham?
I guess in theater, the craziest experience was theater. We had, during Hello Dolly, which is one of my favorite shows, I was assisting on that with Mr. Orphis directing, and there's a very big dance called the Waiter's Gallop all these waiters come out and do this very fancy dance, very precision, and we just kept running it. And in one of the scene changes at a restaurant, one of the waiters dropped a bunch of glasses on the stage, and they kind of shattered. And it was like, well, there's glass on the stage. So I'm in the back of the house like, there's glass on the stage. There's glass on the stage. And you could see the stage manager couldn't come on, but it was Angela Catalano, I remember her. She was kicking the glass off as she's talking. So I looked at Mr. Orphis, he looked at me, and I ran backstage, and I happened to have another waiter's costume in my size. And I put it on with a bow tie and got a dustpan, and I just went out when they started to dance, just started getting all the glass.
During the show? Wow.
And I tried to be not being noticed, please, please, please. And then, of course, at the end, people started applauding, so I was like... and I ran off.
You made your
Mr.
grand
Orpheus
exit.
was like, really? I was like, it was for safety. But,
Of course,
so
for safety.
that was probably the craziest. It was mid-show. And I just had visions of kids getting hurt.
Yeah.
So I just happened to have an extra costume.
I remember, was it the Odd Couple? Either Omar or Noah was on stage with a glass of coffee, and he went, oh, and the glass like broke in half.
Right, that's me. We ordered that special. They're in Odd Couple. There's a plate and a cup that have to be breakable. They're actually made of poured sugar, and you order them, and they break, and very easily when they hit the wall, they shatter, and no one gets hurt because it's just like almost like rock candy. Well, when they shipped it, there was like a stress mark on the handle, and Omar was like, I can't believe it. And the handle was in his hand, and the mug was in row B. And we were like, ah. So we just really threw a handle like, I can't stand you, Oscar. And everyone was just laughing.
Right. Now, but these are all such great shows. Do you ever have any idea that you might want to repeat? What, like Hello Dolly, you said is your favorite?
Well, I have, because Mr. Orpheus was here 34 years, so
Right.
I have repeated some. Like, he had done Gypsy, he had done Fiddler on the Roof. I think that's the only two that I repeated. So, and the sad thing is, you know, most of your musicals today, even on Broadway, are revivals. On the Town is like from the 20s or the 30s. It's an old piece. So, yeah, I do think that you might have to repeat. But I think sometimes I look at the show and I do it, just look and see who I have and what's the best fit for the people in front of me. And sometimes I don't know that till the auditions. You know, I have changed, gone in thinking I'm going to do this title, and then kind of change things up as we're there. So.
And do you have any, this is my last question,
Yep.
any plans, maybe like a hint for the special studio audience that we have here for next year in the fall?
I was thinking Tom Beck, My Life in Song.
Everybody would come see it. It would be so great.
No, I don't, and it's a terrible process. We spend the whole summer, Mr. Schleifer, myself, and Miss Abe's house, kind of spend the summer reading, looking and see what's released, and just very quickly, what's tough is where we are. It's great to be so close to Manhattan, but oftentimes if professional tours are nearby, they will deny us the rights. We did not get the rights for Fiddler on the Roof. Luckily, Mr. Schleifer knew the composer's wife because she had been his teacher.
Wow.
So he called her and said, "Can we get Fiddler on the Roof?" She's like, "Well, is your theater seat like about 5,000 or 6,000?" I'm like, "Are you kidding?" And then she said, "No problem, I'll give you the rights." So it's tough sometimes because we're so close to the city. They do kind of limit what we can do.
Well, I'm sure whatever it is, it's going to be a great show. Mr. Beck, I want to thank you so much for
Thank
coming on
you.
the show today. So good to have you. Thanks for taking time. Give it up for Mr. Beck, everybody. Guys, stick around because after the break, he's already out of here. Look at that. He wants to go. He took his mug and everything. We're just going to let him keep that. Stick around, everybody, because after the break, we're going to have, Dr. Giarrizzo sitting in the back. He's like, why didn't I get a mug? Oh, I'm sorry. But, okay, guys, after the break, we're going to hear a student. This is what happens when you do the show live. This is some crazy stuff happens. After the break, we are going to have student band play a classic song, and a bit later we're going to find out who the next host of the Pelican Brief is going to be. So guys, stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Pelican Brief, everybody. With me now is a great group of guys playing with a little help from my friends. Please welcome the Brief Band, everybody.
This one's for the brief.
Oh, I get by with no help from my friends. friends, with a little help from my friends.
That was awesome. My thanks to these guys for playing such a great song today. Guys, don't go anywhere because after the break, we will find out who the next host of the Pelican Brief will be. Stick around, we'll be right back with more of the Pelican Brief. Welcome back to the Pelican Brief, everybody. This is our season finale episode. We're here in Alumni Hall with this great studio audience. Everybody, thank you so much for coming out here today and making this day so special. I'm really going to miss this show, but we're going to take a look at a nice montage over here of some of our favorite Pelican Brief moments over the last few years. So enjoy, guys. Welcome to the Pelican Brief. 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 I'm Jordan Salama, and we've got a packed show for you today. You want to look at this?
I forgot what it was. Like, I don't know. It's like a disease that's like really deadly.
And the band, which I understand is actually live music in this room.
Yeah, we're
room
sorry.
103 of the TV studio.
So,
You know, I got you a 24 shirt just like mine, but I taped over the winter part so you wouldn't get confused.
I think I'd have to ask you to imagine what the holidays would be like if there were no music.
Wait, Emily X?
Emily X. Emily.
We know who you are, Emily X. I mean, why even bother? I mean, how many Emily X's are there?
And she just said, just 1 second. And she went over to the wastebasket and vomited. Like, I was like...
There's a scene from Seinfeld that I quote a lot. Kramer marches into Jerry's apartment and declares that it was his idea to have a sale on broad basis.
People are really good at electronics. So geeky people.
Geeky people.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
how you can
I
describe
include myself.
If you're a geeky person, come to set crew, everybody.
Right.
Here with a viewer question from PMHS senior Gabrielle Lamardo. She wanted to know, have you guys ever considered going on Shark Tank? And if not, will you consider it now?
Pretty excited to be a part of such a special year in the Pelham. I cannot believe that it's been in syndication for 90 years.
The Pelicans is the bet. They couldn't be the Pelham Panthers.
Split second, L-Band came into my head.
L-Band. Do we have a title for that song?
It's just sort of that song we play.
I know I'm going to be practicing because I need my chance to beat Sam.
It's kind of surreal, you know, because I've been here since I was a freshman, and it started out kind of like, you know, you're scared, you don't know the seniors, and now I am the senior, and everyone's sort of under my jurisdiction, you could say, especially Jack.
I'm Jordan Salama, and we'll see you next time on The Pelican. It's been a great 2 years, and I'm so excited to see what the future holds. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next host of the Pelican Brief, Sabrina Maggiore. Sabrina, this is going to be awesome. You are going to be awesome. How excited are you?
I am beyond excited to take over the show, but I'm also a little nervous, I'm not going to lie, because you've done such a great job with everything, and I have some really big shoes to fill. So really, thank you so much for pioneering the show and for giving all future hosts this opportunity. So.
We're all looking forward to seeing you grow the show even more. And lastly, I would like to thank some crucial people who have played an amazing, amazing role in making this show possible. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Brian Powers. He's an English teacher and broadcast production. Let's give him a big round of applause. Mr. Powers gave the Pelican Brief a chance because we tried to do a lot of things that, believe me, people haven't tried before here. We brought in that author, we brought people outside, and he always gave us the opportunity to do what we wanted, and the Pelican Brief wouldn't be the same without him today. So let's give Mr. Powers another big round of applause. And next, I'd like to thank Mr. Steve Ravita. Steve's technical advice and overall endless knowledge of the television production industry has just been the backbone of this show. And we wouldn't be sitting here in this room, believe me, if it wasn't for him and all of this equipment that he helps us with. So let's give it up for Steve. And of course, I want to thank all of you for your support for coming here today. It was an hour of your time. So guys, give it up for the studio audience here. and for actually watching the Pelham Educational Access Channel. John Stewart told me that this was something that shouldn't be happening, but you know, we have all these fans. This is great. Thank you guys for being here. Give yourselves a hand. We couldn't do it without you. Guys, that's it for today's show. I'm Jordan Salama. This has been the Pelican Brief, everybody.